Hey, welcome to another episode of the Who Dat Jedi podcast. And what a Who Dat it is. After we were all kind of nervous about the Bucks, we ended up making Tom Brady almost cry. So that was a really good game, And it's upsetting. Just people are like, "Oh, Saints offense stunk." It's like, yeah, but our defense, for the love of all that's holy.
Special teams too.
Yeah, and special teams. It's like we actually have a well-rounded team, so it throws off the talking heads. But yeah, to see, like I said, Tom Brady almost cry a couple times. That was just too good. Do you guys like the game? I guess Fredo was in my living room watching it, so he knows.
I liked it. So yeah.
Hope everyone was masked. It was good. So you can't extrapolate too much from one game ever.
And normally week one tends to be the wackiest of NFL weeks because, you're getting rookies coming in, new players coming in, new coaches. But then you add all the intricacies that COVID and no preseason and nothing else kind of threw into the mix. And yeah, you're going to get goofy games and crazy outcomes. So.
But we were right. The talking points have nothing to do with how well the Saints played. It had everything to do with the Bucks and how they just didn't do so hot. But oh well, we won. Whatever. But on and actually, what'd you guys think of the fake crowd noise? I was actually okay with it. I was actually kind of worried there wasn't going to be any, so it'd just be like crickets chirping in the background, and just having that white noise, it was pretty good.
I think it's probably the right call to have something there, like you said. If it were just nothing at all, I think it'd be more distracting. I didn't hate it.
Yeah, having gotten adapted to it by all the soccer over the summer, I kind of have come to accept it. I think my biggest moment when I actually had an issue is, whenever you had those turnovers, so like when we recovered the fumble kickoff, when Janoris Jenkins had that pick six. Because in my mind, I know that the sound of the Superdome when something like that happens, and it's the roof blows off of the place. So the fact that if it only felt like 50%, they didn't crank it up all the way high in those moments. So I'm like, yeah, that's when I noticed it.
No, I'll tell you when I really noticed it more was when the pass interference penalties happened.
Yeah.
Because those calls would have been booed. Those refs would have been booed within every inch of their life. And
so I think the quote of the week comes from Cam Jordan when he was asked what he thought about playing in a stadium with no stands. He was like, "Well, it was like we were playing at a Tampa game."
There's some truth there.
Yeah, but on Bummer Saints news, we got Michael Thomas with a high ankle sprain.
Mm-hmm.
And Emmanuel Sanders was out of practice today. Double. Yeah. So,
but I think he'll go. And look, if you're gonna miss Michael Thomas, you'd rather miss him right now, as opposed to the tail end of the season. This gives him time to get healthy, and we have enough weapons.
Yeah. So I mean that's our Who Dat talk. Just had to gloat there for a second because again, and I love the meme that's going around of if I demand to talk to your manager was a quarterback. That's the best meme. All right. So tonight, though, it's been a good Star Wars last couple days because the Mandalorian Season 2 trailer dropped. And so that's going to be the most of our nerding out on this one. So if you don't want any spoilers or speculation of spoilers, things like that, I mean, I'm not going to hold back on rumors I've heard and things like that because they are just rumors. That doesn't mean anything, but it's going to get our conversation going. But we're going to be analyzing that trailer like true geeks that we are. But before that, though, we got to do some trivia. So, Fredo, I'll start with you. What's your favorite color?
Blue. No, red.
All right. Well, we're going to go. Okay, so we'll go with red. All right. Who takes more seconds to out-duel Kit Fisto? I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Who takes mere seconds to out-duel Kit Fisto?
Okay, I was expecting a multiple choice there.
So who
I'd
takes
go.
mere seconds to outduel Kit Fisto?
I'm gonna go with Darth Sidious.
It is Darth Sidious. That is the lamest lightsaber fight in all of Star Wars history, and that's even saying the Obi-Wan Darth Vader fight in A New Hope.
Well, I always thought that Ian McDiarmid always said that he wasn't a fan necessarily of the lightsaber duels that the two duels that he had to get into for that movie. I mean, he was game up for him, but it's not he wasn't comfortable with it.
He should have just force lightning them all to death. That's just the way that should have happened. But anyway,
the moment you bring up Yoda's lightsaber, you gotta have Darth Sidious's lightsaber.
Well, I don't mind that duel, but it's just the I don't know. You got 3 Jedi, and it's just slow moving, and they're just standing. It's like when Batman's fighting people; they just stand there until they get hit. Anyway,
right.
I kind of like that spin move that he has, though, where like that demon sound escapes from his mouth.
Roll, yeah.
Or whatever, it's fun. I like it.
I'm sorry, I'm looking real quick at Fredo's news notes. I don't want to steal anything, so I'll just interject here because I don't see it on here. Rumor I saw this week that in works for Disney Plus is a Mace Windu, young Mace Windu show.
I'd not seen that. Must have missed it, but yeah.
I see so many rumors. It could be like, hey, it's a young Dave Gladow show, and I would probably, but
who would you get to play young Dave though?
Samuel L. Jackson.
I don't think Dave says the word MF or as much as Samuel does.
He should. You'd feel better, Speaking of, all right. Well, Dave, we'll throw it to you now. Which Star Destroyer is pursuing Han when the Falcon loses its main rear deflector shield? Ooh. Which Star Destroyer is pursuing Han when the Falcon loses its main rear deflector shield?
Oh.
Man, I'd never be able to name it, and I wouldn't even be able to tell you the commanding officer. I don't think either. I couldn't tell you.
I don't think I could name the Star Destroyers either. This one, but when I see it, I'm like, okay. Fredo, you have a guess?
No, but I know that it's Captain Nita is the commanding officer.
It's the Avenger.
The Avenger, right?
I only remember the Executor, or
right, or the Executioner, or
some people say Executor. I say Executor. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who cares? I'm trying to remember. There's whatever. That was a tough one. I apologize for that.
Isn't it the part when they're moving into attack position? Isn't that the part?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when the guy goes, Lord Vader demands an update on your pursuit, and he's like, I'll go apologize to that. That's why I remember the captain's name.
Yeah.
Apology
accepted. Yes, of course.
Apology accepted, Captain Nita.
All right, so what color markings designate a battle droid rated as a pilot? Oh, goodness.
You pick hard for the last two.
This is mine. What color markings designate a battle droid rated as a pilot? So I know yellow is like the commander. That's like 9. I'm going to say red. It's blue. That's what I was going to go with. It's blue. Man. So Fredo is the only one who survived trivia this week. Wow.
I would buy blue because I think the droids that were piloting Grievous's ship were blue.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say purple. I don't know why. But anyway.
Okay. Well, let's now our trivia's out of our way. Our brains are kind of warmed up. It looks like Dave's got an Oktoberfest. I have an Oktoberfest. And
I'll have an Oktoberfest later. It's in the fridge.
Okay.
I got a Bell's Oktoberfest, so trying to follow in Dave's footsteps and get as many try as many Oktoberfest as we can.
Well, see, that's what I did. You got me, Dave, because I was like, you know what? Yeah, I have been drinking a lot of IPAs, this summer and everything. So it's, getting to be fall. You need something a little darker, So, yeah, we got Oktoberfest here as well. All right, let's go into the news.
Okay, so first bit of news, and the Emmys are this Sunday, and actually, that was actually going to be the last bit of news, and of course, Mandalorian is listed in as one of the nominees for about a total of 19, but it's already won a number of them. So, 5 creative Emmys were awarded to the Mandalorian yesterday on the Creative Arts Emmys website. So it won awards for Outstanding Special Visual Effects, Outstanding Cinematography, Outstanding Sound Mixing, Outstanding Sound Editing, and Outstanding Production Design. So of the 19, it's already got 5 in the bag. And the other 14 are going to come into play this Sunday at 7 p.m. our time on ABC.
I mean, it's well deserved. I mean, and, but I still get back to, I would really like to see Star Wars start winning something more than just, the technical goodies,
Yeah.
But,
and you figure, I mean, if anyone's going to win it, win technical awards like that, it's going to be a show like Star Wars. Now, look, there's much more special effects, a lot more budget for special effects in TV now than there were, say, when the Ewoks TV movies were being made. But at the same time, there's almost like you have to have a commitment to push the medium because that's in the DNA of Star Wars.
Yeah.
So moving right along. Also talking about awards, they held the Dragon Awards 2020. Not sure, and Star Wars won a number of things there because, of course, it did. I believe these are the awards that are connected to Dragon Con. So they're a set of literary and media awards voted by fandom, awarded by Dragon Con. So Star Wars won for Best Sci-Fi Fantasy TV Series. We
may have to make a road trip after Corona to like Dragon Con sometime.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Road trip.
Keep going. Sorry, keep going, Fredo.
So it won 3 awards. It won Best Sci-Fi Fantasy TV Series for Mandalorian, Best Sci-Fi Fantasy Movie for The Rise of Skywalker, Best Sci-Fi Fantasy Video Game for Jedi Fallen Order.
Cool. I wonder who else was in the running, but
I had the list of nominees here up here.
It's okay. I mean,
all are worthy nominees.
Yeah, I'm so fond of Mandalorian. I think I'm more fond of it than I really ever expected it to be. When we started this podcast, and we're like, this is what we're going to talk about. I was like, well, I don't know if the show's going to be any good or not, but let's start there and see where it takes us. And I'm at the point now where I'm like, yes, give it all the awards. I think it's great.
It does a good job of speaking well for the work that they're doing at Disney Plus. So, talking about the next Disney Plus Star Wars project, which is Kenobi, Ewan McGregor's been doing the interview rounds. He's got a new TV series, I believe it's on Amazon Prime, which is a continuation of his Long Way series, road series. He and his best friend, which I believe is Chuck Wendig, I don't know if it is or anyway, he and his best friend travel on bikes across places. So, like, I want to say they did across Europe or across Africa. Right now they're doing the Long Way Up, which is from the tip of South America all the way up to North America. They're trying to do that drive, what it's like. So he's been doing interviews about it, and then I started asking him about the Kenobi series. So in the sets of interviews that he's done, it's Charlie Borman, by the way. It's not Chuck Wendig. Anyway, during the interviews, they asked him about Kenobi. And he says, we'll start production next year in the spring. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be great, I think. And so they asked him, okay, is there a chance for anything else beyond that, second season? He says, as I understand it, it's a standalone season. We'll see, though. Who knows?
So on a tangent, did I hear that he's been kind of poking fun and kind of running down the prequels?
Well, no, actually, that's part of the interview. So regarding, because they started asking about it. Actually, no, he says, I'm more well. What he says is, I'm more excited about doing this one than I was doing the second and third that we did before. I'm excited about working with Deborah Chow, and the storylines are going to be really good, I think. I'm just excited to play him again. It's been long enough since I played him before. Now, go ahead.
I was going to say one of the comments that he did make was just how he understands now how appreciated those films are, like more so than a lot of people wanted to acknowledge at the time, because he hears from fans all the time who were kids when those movies came out that fell in love with them and really appreciated them. And for that reason, he's excited to come back to it too.
Yeah,
I thought I had heard a comment that he was kind of. I thought there was some negative comments towards Phantom Menace and towards the prequels, and I was okay. So you guys you're talking me off the cliff. All right.
Yeah, no, I'll give you his exact quote. He says, "quote Our films weren't much like when they came out by my generation who loved the first ones. I think people of our generation wanted to feel the way they felt when they saw those first three movies when they were kids, and George wanted to take our movies in a different direction. He had a different idea. It was tricky at the time, I remember. But now, all these years later, I'm really aware of what our films meant to the generation they were made for, the children of that time. They really like them. I've met people who they mean a lot to them, those films, more so than the original three. And I'm like, are you kidding? So he's not necessarily talking them down. He's saying, at the moment, we were getting all the negativity, and now I'm surprised to see that it's flipped.
I think if you I listen to the Star Wars Underworld quite a bit. I think those three would say that they prefer the prequels to the original saga. That's what they grew up on. Right. They love the original trilogy, but the prequels and the Clone Wars stuff is there. So I think it has everything to do with generations, and that's why I don't know if that generation. I think our generation liked the sequels better than the generation that grew up with the prequels. So it's like everybody's just telling everybody to get off their lawn. So,
well, okay, exactly. And look, what's interesting is he's not the only one. He's not the only actor who's come out in support of the prequels. Liam Neeson
Liam Neeson,
he came out and said that. Let me see. I know a lot of fans and critics didn't like, and he's talking about the prequels that didn't like it. I'm proud of it. And he's also come out in defense of Ahmed Best, saying, at the time, I thought he was a really talented guy. I was telling George that I found him really funny. I thought he could be as big as Eddie Murphy got. And then, unfortunately, he got the brunt end of all the negativity sent his way. But he's proud.
Jake Lloyd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Liam is proud of the work he did on the prequels and is same as you, and which is good if you're coming back to it.
I love that. You shouldn't have to apologize for the work that you did in those films if you're freaking Liam Neeson or Ewan McGregor, because they did great work in those movies, those two in particular.
Right.
So they should be proud of what they did, and if they get positive feedback from fans, and
it kind of makes me think right now because we're going through the same thing again with the sequels and the response and reaction that actors and creators of those movies have gotten, and it just makes me think in 15 years they're gonna be like, oh yeah, I grew up with the sequels. I love Rey, I love Finn, I love Poe. Can't believe you guys are coming back. It's gonna be interesting because it's history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes.
I tell you what, Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford, and up until a few years ago, Carrie Fisher needed to thank their lucky stars that the internet was not a thing when those first three movies came out.
Yeah,
I mean, really, it's just because people. If you take the internet out of the equation of a lot of this, then people would go into movies a little bit more like open-minded and not just already beaten down by life because they've seen whoever just railing about it on YouTube, So, like I said, they should thank their lucky stars. So
Yeah.
I would also say too that back to your point on the sequel trilogy, how they're just experiencing the front end of that now. Those actors like John Boyega has made headlines multiple times at this point, and some of the other actors as well. And I just give it time, gentlemen. Let it blow over for the next 10 years or so, and you may start feeling a little bit better about the whole situation.
Absolutely. So moving off of the production shows, good news for Aaron when he goes to Disney World. Savvy's Workshop is coming back in actually 3 days, September 20th.
Are you able to get a custom lightsaber?
Reservations will open on September 16th, so yesterday on the My Disney Experience app. You will need a valid park pass reservation. They are going to create kind of lower capacity, increased physical distancing, but yes, you'll have the lightsaber experience.
So it's really interesting that this comes up because I think it was like just yesterday or the day before. Brittany my wife has a friend who he and his family went to Disney World, and so she was asked, "All right, so what's it like? Disney World pandemic." He's like, "You know what? Not as bad as I was thinking it was going to be." Said they actually have things moving very efficiently, very safely. They got thou shalt stand here, signs. But he was like, it was a lot better than what he was anticipating. But that being said, we've talked many times as we're walking from the car to Target with a mask on. It's like, nope, wouldn't want to walk around Orlando with a mask on in the middle of the summer. But then we're,
your sunglasses would just go with all the fog.
Oh man,
you're coming into the fall though now, Aaron.
I know, right? So I don't know. It's
It's still Orlando.
But the thing that came out though is I said, I'm sorry not to hinge it on one thing. I said, but I don't want to go to Savvy's Workshop if I'm just going to get here's your Luke Skywalker lightsaber. And she's like, yeah, I understand. You want your, yeah, it makes sense. If you're going to go, you want to get a custom lightsaber. And now Fredo just tells me this. So thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Well, Aaron, I'm curious. Have you if you wanted to do it, have you decided on a general design? Have you kind of checked out the designs yet?
I do have an idea, but I will not talk about it right now. So
okay,
I do have an idea. Yes.
Now
that being said, I will make my own custom lightsaber, and then I will go buy a Luke Skywalker lightsaber because I've always wanted one. Like the Anakin Luke model. Rey. I've always wanted one of those. No, not the Rey. Sorry, the Rey. Sorry. Yeah, Rey is. I love Rey, but no, that's the Skywalker saber. Anyway, I don't want a little leather band around it. Well, that's interesting. Well, thanks for giving me something to talk about now. And
hey, and I'll give you an update on my saber. It's held up remarkably well to 3 kids and a lot of abuse. I'd say that. We've had to glue a couple of pieces back on, but I think that was par for the course.
And that's part of the charm, I'm sure. That's part of the charm. By the way, what batteries does it run on? Do you remember?
The little ones.
Runs on a Kyber crystal, Fredo. What do you know?
AAA.
Okay. That's good. Speaking of going back to Disney World, Aaron, there was a Disney World call for investors, and during it they mentioned that they are moving ahead with various projects for development in the park, and they're putting a priority on Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser, as well as Avengers Campus and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. So if you still felt like getting into that big old hotel,
nope.
He shakes his head.
Nope. Sorry. Again, I just say it does not. If I had kids, maybe. Otherwise, I just feel like I think I would just look like, creepy guy. So,
You know what they do when you go, and I don't know. It may have been a while for each of you since you've been, but they put up these big billboards that says "coming soon." This thing, that thing, the Avengers stuff is coming. The Mickey and Minnie Railroad thing is coming. And so it's like they know what they're doing. It's like you think, oh, maybe I mistimed my trip a little bit, and I need to come back to experience these other things that are coming that are going to open up later on. They're very clever with the marketing.
Yeah, because right now they're saying that the immersive Star Wars Hotel experience is slated to open sometime 2021. They haven't given anything specific. Avengers Campus may also be opening in 2021, sometime around. It was supposed to be this year, July 18th, but now it's been pushed back to 2021. So if you're planning on going to either one of those experiences, maybe hold up next year.
Here's the other thing. It's kind of like, Cats is like one of my least favorite musicals because like they come into the audience and you like they try to dance with you and stuff. And it's just like, or it's like going to a sporting event and the mascot is trying to get you involved. It's like, don't make eye contact. Leave me alone. That's the way I'd feel on the Star Wars Galactic Cruiser, So I don't know. Yeah. Again, if I had kids, it'd be something totally different. It's like, hey, let's go have this Star Wars adventure. It'd be great. For me and my wife, it probably would be no. So we'd be walking around the cruiser going, "Where's the beer? Show me where the cantina is."
No, so you remind me of, and I know I've told you all this story, but I don't know if I've said it here on the podcast. Years ago, I was at Universal Hollywood. So I was by myself. I was out there catching some baseball games. I figured, okay, I got a day to kill. Go up there. And I ended up at Ollivander's, the Harry Potter world, Wizarding World. So they have an Ollivander's where, you're surrounded by kids and they have a whole experience where you stand in line.
Did you push the kid out of the way for a wand, did you?
No. Trust me, the kids are running all over. You turn around, you're going to hit a kid. So you got to be careful. But there comes a moment where they got to pick somebody from the audience to kind of take on the Harry Potter role with the whole wind and light showing up and waving of the wands. Guess who they picked? Yes, me. I'm like, no. Pick one of the. I'm like, pick any of the kids. Pick any of the kids, please, dear God. Pick any of the kids. I'm like, the light just goes boom right over my head. I'm just like, ah. So I totally share in your sentiment about living in those totally immersive environments, because at some point you just gotta be like, look, you're not gonna get me to spend $70 on a wand right now, because I totally did not feel like stepping up to this craziness, but now here I am. So yes, instead of some little kid living their Harry Potter dreams,
before you said that, I was just about ready to start making a joke. It's like when you go to a strip club and it's like you just want to sit in the back and hear, but then you said all of a sudden, no, I'm not going to spend $70 on a wand. So they are the same thing.
Basically. Look. They go like, look, get an adult. They got money. I'm like, no, get the kids. The kids will strong arm the adults into money. But yeah, so I totally share in your sentiment of not being a part of the show when you're paying to be there.
I mean, Dave, so not to totally kill this conversation, but to kind of to kill it. You're absolutely right about all the Disney stuff. I mean, that is so planned out. It's like if they said, all the updates are coming in 2021, then that's when everybody would plan their trip. But you're right. It's like we plan our trip, then you find out, oh, there's this new ride that's opening in 2 years, and we're like, we'll come back, So I remember when we went for our honeymoon in '96. And they were talking about the rumors of Animal Kingdom. So that made us going, oh, we'd like to come back from Animal Kingdom. So yeah.
And you got to figure, I mean, I know some people who live out in the West Coast in California, and they buy the season pass or the annual pass for Disneyland. So you got to figure, there's got to be, that's a lot of money you're investing in your family. You got to have a way to get those people to come back every year.
I would do that in a heartbeat. I would, if I lived in like within a couple hours of Orlando, I'd have a season pass in a heartbeat. Scott Colesby and I talked about if like if Six Flags was still here in New Orleans, it'd be like, I'd have a season pass to that in a heartbeat. I'd go ride roller coasters every day. But
you just get a season pass just so you could just go hang out at Oga's twice a week.
That's right, man.
Here comes Aaron again.
I'd be up leaning there and I'd tap somebody and go, he doesn't like you.
You just watch yourself.
By the way, I love the robot chicken. Sorry, we gotta move on to the other stuff. I love the robot chicken when they do that. He goes, he doesn't like you, and Ponda Baba's speaking in with subtitles going, I didn't say that. That's not what I said.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So two quick things. Well, one quick thing first is Star Wars is going to be celebrating their 9th annual Star Wars Reads Day, which is a month-long event kind of promoting readership and reading. So they have all sorts of stuff and connected with local libraries and bookstores. They're going to be
at Barnes and Noble one time for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So they have all sorts of little competitions for kids to read and win stuff. So it's a good little thing in terms of, hey, you're stuck with your kids and you want to promote reading.
Stuck with your kids.
But what I mean to say is you're trying to get look. It's better to be stuck with your kids than be stuck with somebody else's kids. That's different. But anyway.
That I agree with.
Yeah.
I'm a very my kids kind of person, more so than any kids.
Other kids are fine, but they're not your kids.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, to promote their reading, and some parents get lucky; their kids love reading. Some parents not. So using Star Wars to promote that is always a good thing. So I believe the 9th annual Star Wars Reads Day is actually October 1st. So visit the website, the official website. They have all sorts of stuff in there for them.
Yeah, I have a pin around here somewhere that's Star Wars Reads Day. But anyway.
And then last but not least, we got a new story trailer for Star Wars Squadrons, which I believe is still supposed to drop sometime next month in October. Hold on a second, let me just confirm that. Yeah, October 2nd, actually, so it's about 3 weeks or so away. But this one was more cinematic than gameplay, but it's titled Hunted, and the whole idea is about this TIE fighter commander being chased by the New Republic after a battle, and what remains of Galactic Empire leaves him away, and it's actually pretty good. So the trailer is cut really well. John Knoll actually was interviewed by StarWars.com as to how they taken some of the technology that they've used for the movies and using it to create the trailers and give the same sensation of in the game as you get in the movies.
Sorry, this Donkey Kong fan is just finding it so odd that we have trailers for games.
Multi-billion-dollar industry, this.
That being said, about games, I purchased Luigi's Mansion 3,
Mm-hmm.
where Luigi is basically like a Ghostbuster, and it's kind of slow moving, but it's just kind of an enjoyable thing to do after work. So it's really kind of cute. So, and
it's 'tis the season for that kind of a game, right? Because
Yeah.
October is coming up. I try to do that every year now. I think about games that kind of fit the Halloween motif, and
that might be a podcast episode, I think.
We could go down that road if we wanted. Yeah,
Castlevania 1, Castlevania 2,
all of the Castlevanias. Yeah.
Symphony of the Night, Night Trap. Yep. We can start talking about Night Trap.
I'm playing Metroid right now, the first Metroid.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that was a big deal. Yeah, we're gonna have another video game episode.
All the Resident Evils. Yeah.
So
yep, that's it for news.
Here ended the news, except for the biggest one of the week. The Mandalorian Season 2 trailer has dropped. So what we're going to do is we will play that right now, and then we will analyze it and pick it apart like the geeks that we are. So with that, here we go.
Show me the one safety deemed such destruction. You must reunite it with its own kind.
Where?
This you must determine. The songs of eons past tell of battles between Mandalore the Great and an order of sorcerers called Jedi.
You expect me to search the galaxy and deliver this creature to a race of enemy sorcerers?
This is the way.
You know this is no place for a child. Wherever I go, he goes. So I've heard. This is the way.
So there you have it. We're all speechless.
If no one has watched it, they should go. Not just listen to the audio on this podcast. You should watch the trailer if you so desire. But as Aaron said earlier, we're probably gonna get into spoilers and speculation and all kinds of crazy stuff that we can get into here. So if you don't want that, then check out now, I guess.
First of all, non-spoilery, what a good trailer.
Were we talking about it? Yeah, were we just saying last week, wow, we don't need a trailer? It's like they heard us.
You know, but it's just it gives you it's like it gives you all the what is that without telling you what that is. And and they have basically dialogue from the previous season, so with the exception of talking to one-eyed dude. But yeah, it's like, and there's enough Baby Yoda. There's a lot of Baby Yoda in there just so people can go, oh yeah, I remember that little thing, and oh yeah. So, but no, otherwise, and the way I look at it is they're setting up the story of he's got to find the Jedi to take Baby Yoda back to. And so when we're seeing all these places, all these planets, or all these, townscapes and things like that, I've always got it in my brain of, all right, how is this related to trying to find a Jedi? And I'm trying to connect those, those things. You know what I mean? It's like, so this may be a brand new place, but I think we're going to be seeing a lot of, familiar or places we've heard about and maybe not seen a lot of, because it makes no sense for him to go to Omaha looking for Jedi if we know that Jedi weren't in Omaha. You know what I mean? Sure. But anyway, but overall, I just think what do you guys think trailer wise?
I think it does a good job of kind of presenting us what the central motif of the season is going to be, which is Mando and Baby Yoda looking for the Jedi. And obviously, it's a journey that's going to take going to all sorts of different places. So giving you a taste of that. They're also giving you a sense that none of the enemies from last season that were hunting them have stopped, and that there's a potential for them to have picked up new ones. So we'll get into some of that. But that overall idea of it's still the continuation of the story that we left at the end of Chapter 8. That's the sense that I get, that it's just going to continue right along. Okay, now Mando has his marching orders. He's going to protect the kid. He's got to bring the kid with him. And at some point, he's got to find the Jedi to take him. And I think part of what's interesting about bringing that question of, you want me to deliver him to a race of enemy sorcerers, is there's going to be some doubt onto him, I think. Just over, okay, now I'm supposed to be dad. I'm Dad Mando, or Mandad, whatever.
Well, and
do I really turn him over if I find the Jedi?
And even if, as he learns the history of the Mandalorians versus the Jedi, there's going to become trust issues. He's already got trust issues, but there's going to be more trust issues. Dave, when you saw this trailer, what'd you think?
Oh, I squealed with delight when Baby Yoda did his little duck into his little carriage maneuver. That was just such a perfect bit of comic relief, in character for everybody involved. It shows the child's awareness, but it also shows that Mando is not one to be trifled with, as we well know at this point. That moment just sang. The voiceover from the armorer, pitch perfect. I think very much in keeping with what we knew of her character from last season. There was some doubt whether she might return this year.
Well, this doesn't mean that she's going to return. This is
Right.
dialogue. This is dialogue straight from the last episode.
Right. It might not. It was welcome for me because it's like a warm blanket. I think her tone in particular was one that I associated closely with the show. And so for that reason alone, it was good to hear her voice again, but I'd like to see her return. I don't know. There's so many details that we can get into, and I know that we're going to get into. But I'd say that overall, that was my reaction, was that it felt pitch perfect, appropriate.
So let's dive right into it. First thing we see, the Razor Crest is obviously kind of damaged, but flying towards a planet or moon. It looks like he's heading to Earth. Oh no!
It looks like it's the you get reminded of that shot of going under Yavin 4 or Yavin to get to the fourth moon.
Yeah.
Same idea. It's a gas giant planet, a habitable moon, which is where he's going. Although the interesting part is the damage that the Razor Crest has taken.
So let's put it in the context that just play my game with me here, if you will, because we know that he's got to try to find some Jedi. So what are the possibilities? Where could we be? Is it possible we're heading towards Dagobah?
Nobody really knew about Dagobah, right? I mean, like that would. Yeah, and I think that that's going to be a consideration. He's not going to be able to really lean into the Force to figure these places out. He's only going to have to rely on urban legend.
Of course, okay. So then maybe we're heading towards Endor. You know, the battle, the last battle between Luke Skywalker and, the Emperor. I don't know.
Yeah, I think places that Luke made public appearances would make sense in that sense. I don't know, Fredo, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say right quick, and you can probably answer this probably better than I. You guys read the Chuck Wendig novels, right? Aftermath, Empire's End.
I'm 2/3 of the way through.
Okay, yeah. So in other words, how big of a presence in the galaxy after the Battle of Endor is Luke? Because if you're supposed to be looking for a Jedi, that's your guy, so to speak. So you normally consider, okay, because when I saw Tatooine, that's what I thought of. Okay, maybe he's backtracking, tracing steps, trying to find Luke.
Yeah, but we're early enough. It's unlike The Force Awakens, where it's like
20 some odd years.
Everything's just kind of like myth. This is like, holy McClunky, the Empire's gone and the Death Star is destroyed. Oh yeah, it was this Luke Skywalker dude, and I heard he uses a lightsaber and he was a Jedi, and so there could those rumors could be a little bit more prevalent. But there's also the fact that there's going to be records. The New Republic has taken over the Empire. They're going to have access to records, something. Anyway, I'm just wondering. We're obviously just speculating, looking at just this one planet, but I find it very interesting that it opens up heading towards a specific planet.
Right, and I guess that was my point. Is like it hasn't, the New Republic may have all this stuff, but I don't know, has it disseminated yet to the populace at large? Because ultimately, that's the goal for Mando can't go on something official. He's got to go by what he's picking up from people in the know, or what's common knowledge, that kind of thing, to try to track down. If he's tracking down Luke, going to Endor, going to Tatooine, that makes sense.
But not necessarily also Luke, but you're also going to look at like where did Jedi, and we're going to get into this a little bit later. Where did Jedi train? Where would they, where did they go when they're at their heyday?
Right.
So let's just keep on moving. The next bit we see him, it's stark difference. We're in a nighttime in kind of an urban area, and there's a lot of graffiti everywhere, which I think that's pretty cool. We've never seen Star Wars graffiti before, except for on Rebels. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's been a lot of speculation since Ahsoka was semi-confirmed for this series that you might get Sabine Wren as well. Because when we last saw Ahsoka, she was with Sabine.
About this time, or
yeah, and we'll probably speak a little bit more about this theory in a few minutes here. But yeah, the graffiti that you see could be indicative of that, because Sabine is very much known for that. The other possibility I've seen floated is that it's more to do with returning to the vibe that we got from season 1, which is like at Tatooine, you see stormtrooper helmets on pikes.
Yeah.
There has been some uprising. There has been, the locals kind of taking matters into their own hands. So I think you could see that be an extension of that, as well as the planet that we left things off on.
Navarro. Yeah.
Navarro,
Yeah.
right.
It was pretty run down, pretty, I don't know, desecrated is the right word I'm looking for. But
Well, and the Imperials that were there kind of got a spanking too. So it's maybe even more lawlessness going on right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just
ahead,
no, I was just gonna say it's an interesting shot because they're doing it in darkness, and so again, it's about jumping into the same vibe as before, the lone wolf and cub. But it's an interesting point regarding just where could we be, because once we see the episodes, we're gonna go, oh well, totally, that's where it should be. But right now, it could be any number of places.
So next, we after we've walked through the graffiti streets, sorry everybody, this has to be Tatooine because it's a bantha and it's Tusken Raider. And by the way, when you watch this, it looks like the bantha is talking, because when Mando says where, the bantha's mouth moves, and so it makes the bantha look like it's going where, so it's just it was well timed. This was the part that made me kind of giggle, to see a bantha like this, because we saw banthas from a distance, and this was just kind of cool. I don't know. Like I said, obviously Tatooine, but why would, again? So maybe the question comes up: why would we be going back to Tatooine? Well, maybe he's going to rifle through old Obi-Wan's hut, and maybe he did hear about this, Luke Skywalker or something. So it's got to be a reason he's going back to Tatooine. It's got to be because of that connection.
Well, that's the one that makes most sense initially. I mean, if you're tracking down Jedi, there's only one left in the galaxy, so to speak, and he's from Tatooine, and that makes sense that he would go back, to try to wrestle, lead there. Plus, he's got priors there, he's got connections there, so it makes sense. And
that was what I was going to say. It's like, if you have a damaged ship and you need to set down for repairs, he already has a mechanic that he trusts on Tatooine at this point, right?
Right. And he knows that he can go there and be safe and away from, say, whether it's Imperials or whether it's a New Republic, because Tatooine's still lawless.
I mean, I get what you're saying, and that's that's not to sound like, but that's the easy answer. But I mean, the story is about him trying to find Jedi. I'm sorry, it's going to be following one lead to another, and it's probably not going to be he needs to get his ship repaired. But I mean, I got to go back to Tatooine because there was a lead that's taking me here. So,
but on a meta narrative level, we know he has to go back to Tatooine because we know we still have that guy with the spurs at the end of that episode, which was on Tatooine to resolve. We know that's going to be answered. So he has to go back.
Also, I'll remind you that the pace of season 1 was sometimes meandering. You kind of there were various points where I was kind of like, all right, get on with it, we get it. So we may be in for that with with a couple of diversionary episodes where it's like, yeah, we want you to get on with the quest. Oh gosh, we have to deal with ship repairs this episode. Okay, I'll go along with it, but that maybe I'm trying to set my expectations a little bit lower in that regard because it could very well be something along those lines.
And from I'm just going to borrow from an RPG element, you can't just go from mission to mission to mission. You're gonna have setbacks. You're gonna have diversions. You're gonna have side quests. Maybe going back to Tatooine is a side quest, or maybe it has to do with let's go find Obi-Wan's hut. Let's go try to see if maybe Luke Skywalker's there. And hey, along the way, let's get the ship repaired because I keep getting it beat up.
Yeah, you also have 8 to 10 episodes, so you can't take too many side quests. But anyway, the other thing is I wouldn't be surprised if we're going back with some sort of, even though he's dead, but some sort of Jabba's palace, Jabba the Hutt type of deal. We'll talk more about that later. So the next thing we come up to is a snow planet. So where does everybody in the world think we are?
If everybody says Hoth, I'm going to disagree hard.
That's immediately, that's what everybody thought. It's like, oh, we're at Hoth. No,
no.
I think go ahead. You've played the game, and I've watched, Clone Wars. Dave's watched Clone Wars. Yeah, so I think that the idea of it being Ilum is far more likely.
Part of me thought Ilum, but you know what else a part of me thought? For the first time I saw it, I thought the planet where Ahsoka crash landed at the end of Clone Wars.
Yeah, somebody mentioned that as well.
I don't know why, but that's what I thought, because there's the next shot of it is Baby Yoda in the snow and Mando leaning onto him, and there's a ship in the background that looks up in Old Republic.
Yeah,
but I also like the idea of Ilum, because we know that Ilum is a known planet by the fall of the Old Republic, because that's when Jedi Fallen Order takes place.
Well,
so the idea of going there makes sense.
It was a Jedi hotspot. That's where they took younglings to get their lightsabers and stuff like that. To get
Kyber crystals.
It becomes Starkiller Base, and Favreau has said that you'll start to see maybe the birthing of that's my words, not his, of the First Order. So it would make sense that if they're on this planet, it's like, geez, what the heck are they doing over there? It looks like they're really building something. Oh, well, got to go, kid. Who knows?
I wonder if it would be interesting to see. I mean, because he's being chased by Moff Gideon. That's obvious. But I wonder if we would see something like the First Order, because I don't think those two sides of what was left of the Empire may be on the same page. And that might be an interesting dynamic where maybe Mando and Baby Yoda are using what's going to be the First Order to hide from Moff Gideon. Or getting them to fight one another.
And I'll say an argument in favor of Hoth would be the tracking Luke Skywalker's footsteps motif.
Right.
Like, where has Luke Skywalker been confirmed to be? Well, Tatooine. We know he was on Hoth. We're pretty sure he was on Cloud City. That was very brief, and not a lot of people probably knew about that. Endor, like you said, Aaron.
Okay, so hold on. You just All right, so now maybe you're on to something, because we have seen an indoor-looking planet, we've seen a snow planet, we have seen, Tatooine. There's also the thing, that's a story for another time. Are we going to maybe find out how Maz Kanata comes to have Luke Skywalker's lightsaber?
Oh, came from Mando.
Okay.
Why not?
Okay.
You laugh, but that is not a tough line to draw.
Yeah.
Could you see Luke in some way, shape, or form in this season?
Well, whether you do or not, it would be an interesting route for them to go, because you're essentially repeating the plot of The Force Awakens.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a Luke Skywalker scavenger hunt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there is something compelling about this idea of Luke, more so than the actual person Luke, and how that resonates for other people and what it means to the galaxy at large. And so, like, okay, we must chase down this myth, so we must chase down this man. And it worked to the tune of a couple $1 billion with The Force Awakens, so I would see why they wouldn't be shy about returning to the well here either.
Mm-hmm.
So, in looking at this shot, you said the ship behind them. That's the thing that was catching my eye. I was trying to figure out, what is that ship?
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about the planet where Ahsoka and Rex went down,
right.
I mean, well, I guess their Y-wing made it. So I was trying to look at that as like the head of a Y-wing. I mean, you see
Right.
the gun at the nose. But that the orange markings, I'm trying to figure out what this ship is.
Because part of me thought it may have been one of the transports, but then I went, I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily a Republic transport per se. The markings and everything that's the vibe they give you. It's Clone Wars. Doesn't necessarily give you a rebellion vibe. But, that's just it. It could be any number of things. And look, it could, for all we know, it could be a ship that Mando maybe would have stole.
So anyway, all right. Well, I think we should actually have an office pool sometime. We should go through and say which we think each of these planets are, and each put in a buck. I'm guessing that one is probably Ilum. It would make sense from a Jedi perspective. Now on the next thing, we are in what looks like we've got a lot of Quarren, a lot of squid faces around. So I mean, dollars to donuts. We're on Mon Cal.
Because there's a ship also later on, right?
Well, we'll see the boat up, but this first shot, I mean, you've just got, like I said, Quarren all over the place, and on Mon Cal you have the Mon Calamarians, the Admiral Akbars and the squid face, the Quarren, and they don't get along. But that's an ocean world. I know some people have said maybe we're on Camino, which that would be interesting because of the doctor with the Camino and patch. I mean, that was not on accident, unless he was just hired because he's a good cloner. But
correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, the few times that we see Camino, both in the prequels and in Clone Wars, the aesthetic, the architectural aesthetic that we get from the Caminoans is not that rundown and dingy. And I don't get a sense that there's a lot of other species on it.
Until the Empire just, takes it over and neglects it and just shuts it all down. I mean,
yeah. I mean, the impact on Lothal, for example, how the Empire can just strip mine a place. But
that is true.
I tend to agree with you, Aaron. At minimum, it's very, it's a portside town that they're in, and you're going to see them seafaring soon, which is kind of cool because this is stuff that we don't typically see in Star Wars. Mm-hmm. And it would make sense for individuals who are from Mon Calamari, who are from an ocean world, that they would gravitate towards oceanic environments to kind of make a living for themselves. Well, we can fish because we're quite good swimmers, I mean, as silly as that sounds, it makes sense if you're gonna set an action piece or an important plot point in a kind of an oceanside town, it would make sense to have a lot of those types of species there. So I think that's really cool.
You wouldn't have Ewoks there because they'll get all wet and the fur would just stink.
It'll start to smell. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Smell like wet dog. Yeah. So next up, we have the mystery woman. They and the voiceover at this point is he's talking about, you want me to take him to, a race of sorcerers,
Enemy sorcerers.
Enemy sorcerers, and they show this mystery woman who, give me a little credit. The facial features actually do look a little bit like Rosario Dawson. But when you immediately, I thought, well, first of all, let me explain myself. Kessel Run Transmissions is their podcast, and they had a rumor, spoiler, whatever, that Rosario Dawson had filmed a scene specifically for the trailer wearing a hood, but it was going to be a dark hood, not like the light one that she was wearing at the end of Rebels. And so when I saw this, I was like, oh, this is what they're talking about. So I think they probably got something wrong, because it is a person that kind of looks like Rosario Dawson, but it's obviously not Ahsoka, because you don't have the
markings.
The markings and the things on the head. I mean, it's a little orange complexion, so it's kind of the right complexion. But anyway, you guys and other people have said it also. It's what, Sasha Banks? Is that the name?
Yeah, WWE superstar Sasha Banks. Yes,
that's what it says on her business card. WWE.
That is.
Star.
Hey, look. Look, when you become a WWE superstar, that's your moniker for life.
So
it's kind of like Dwayne Johnson. He's forever the Rock.
I had heard a rumor actually that she was playing Sabine Wren. And so that would make sense that, again, a Mandalorian is looking for, comes into connection with another Mandalorian and says, hey, I happen to know this Jedi. It doesn't take long to connect those dots. But the voiceover says a race of enemy sorcerers, and they show this person, and then that person disappears. That makes me think not Sabine. And then I was reading other people's speculation. I can't remember who said this, but maybe could it be a former Night Sister?
That's what I was also thinking of. And I don't know why, but part of me popped in my head. Like, well, who else do we know that's still out and about? Because we know there was a number, most of the Night Sisters were wiped out by Dooku and Grievous. But a few of them did survive. So
now, what if, and I mentioned this in our group chat, what if, Sabine and Ahsoka, before they go off on their adventures, or as they're off on their adventures, maybe Ahsoka is training Sabine in the ways of the Force. So maybe there's going to be kind of a quote unquote marriage of the Mandalorian and the Jedi, once again, after they had, the original, whatever his name was, like Tar Vizsla. But I don't know. Or it could be somebody just totally nobody that is going to be new to us. What do you guys think?
So first thing that I thought is, I went to kind of make the math in my head, because the last time we see Sabine is at the end of season 4 Rebels, and she's 18. Now that's 5 years before.
No. Well, the last time you see her is in that epilogue, which is post Return of the Jedi. She ain't 18.
How old is she then?
Well, she was probably about 16 pre A New Hope.
Right. So then you gotta.
This is post Battle of Endor, so she's in her 20s.
Okay, so then, well, that's my point I was gonna make.
She's in her 20s. She's in her 20s post Empire Strike or Return of the Jedi,
and then add another 6 years.
Add another 6. So
which makes sense with Sasha Banks is, I believe, 28, 29.
I'm sorry, but the three of us go into a bar and we see somebody order a drink, and we're gonna go, she don't look 21. I mean, because in our mind's eye, we all look 21, but
we're not. We're not.
A baby. So I think the math works. I'll let you go though. I'll shut up. I'll drink some water. So
no, what I was gonna say is just simply, I think the math works out. So if she's Sabine, she's of age appropriate. Is what I was trying to say. So if they wanted to cast Sabine, Sasha Banks as Sabine, she's age appropriate. She might be looks appropriate. I don't know. That's another issue altogether. Whether or not that's who you picture when you saw Sabine in live action. But I think if that's Sabine, it would make sense in some way that you wouldn't necessarily have Ahsoka tailing Mando and Baby Yoda. You would have somebody who's more accustomed to being clandestine, like Sabine.
Yeah, but like I said, doesn't it have to be, and we'll let Dave chime in here, but doesn't it, given the voiceover, is it just poor trailer making or just dopey misleading to be talking about Jedi and showing not a Jedi and making them disappear and making them seem like a Jedi?
Well, here's the thing. We're saying it's poor Jedi, trailer making because we don't know who she is. If they had shown Ahsoka, boom, it hits 100%. What I'm saying,
it's either being blatantly misleading or it's bad trailer making. I don't know. So,
right.
Dave, what do you think when you saw this person? What was your it's blah, because you had to have a gut reaction.
Mystery person X.
Oh, come on.
It might just
when
be
you and Kate are going out and she says, "Where do you want to go to eat?" You're the one that says, "I don't know. Where do you want to go?"
Oh God, we don't go down that road. We're pretty good, actually. We don't have that couple. I mean, I'm like, where do you actually want to? Well, here's what I don't want. But anyway,
Brittany and I are totally that couple. But anyway, go ahead.
It's kind of frustrating because I really do feel Rogue One-ish about this with the trailers of Rogue One, and you watch Rogue One and you're like, wait, what happened to X, Y, and Z? I kind of feel like this is that moment for us in this trailer. They're talking about Jedi and they're cutting it in a way that she appears to be Jedi-like. I don't think she actually will be one, and I don't think she's Sabine either. I know people have speculated that because of the blue hair.
Mm-hmm.
I guess she's known for having blue hair in her WWE persona, and Sabine at varying points has had blue hair. I don't know if that's enough for me, and I think it's okay to reimagine a character in a different way. It doesn't necessarily have to be note for note, pitch perfect.
They said something really interesting in the gallery when they were talking about the Darksaber. They said, because they're like, wow, here's the Darksaber and the real thing. He said, and I think it was Dave Filoni said, well, remember, it's like the animated stuff is kind of like basically an artist's rendering of the real thing. So I think people are going to get hung up when they start seeing it. If Captain Rex is in this series, if Sabine is in the series, Ahsoka, they're all going to start nitpicking over the fact that
the look,
that it's not the same. It's going to be like, well, you got to imagine this is like, the animated series is like the courtroom, rendering of, the people on trial, so you're getting an artist rendering of this. So yeah, you're going to have to let it go a little bit, but
artist rendering, I always think of that Tom Brady one.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Angular with the little sharp nerve. Yeah.
I don't know. I immediately go right to Tom Brady.
So can I offer one more crazy hypothesis?
Go for it.
Sure.
What if it's Barriss Offee? You remember Barriss, Ahsoka's friend? Now she's supposed to be dead.
Was she killed, or was she just put in?
She was. They're saying that she was killed during the Great Jedi Purge during Order 66. But I'm trying to remember if we actually saw that happen.
There'd be markings. She had a lot of markings on her face.
Yeah, she had mark. Well, my point being, if you wanted to throw a swing, if you're bringing back Ahsoka, bringing back somebody who also
certainly
replacing the Jedi Order.
But I think to marry your idea with Dave's, it very well could be a Jedi who has just been in hiding this whole time.
Could be.
You know, somebody who is off with their master and is like, oh crap, and just went to work as a fisher person, you know. Speaking of which, the next shot is, and this is kind of funny because people are like, we've never seen a boat in Star Wars before, and they forget that Rian Johnson put one in The Last Jedi, and we had 2 seasons of The Resistance, which was all on a water planet. But anyway, but it is kind of cool though to see a boat like trawling out onto Lake Michigan or whatever the heck it is.
Yeah, it's a different setting.
It's a different aesthetic, very much so. It's, you know, we talk about there's only so many biomes that you can go to, you know, in film, and this is one that live action has not really spent a lot of time in. Camino, kinda, but not really. That was more rainy. But to see him on a boat, that's kind of neat.
The Princess Leia novel. I forget which one it was called now. The one that was Bloodlines.
Mm-hmm.
One of the characters that served under Princess Leia came from an ocean-bearing planet, and they were very proud of their ability to be tough, you know, and they would drink this terrible, you know, 100 proof alcohol concoction, you know, to prove how manly they were and stuff. And it was kind of this fun subplot. And it gave, you know, it fleshed out this character a great deal. And it'd be kind of fun to visit that planet. I don't remember the name of it offhand, but I can go look it up.
Well, as you're doing that, next we have the Razor Crest being flanked by X-Wings. And I'm sorry, every time I see live action X-Wings, I get giddy. And if you look, there's an R2 unit in the back of said X-Wing.
Of course.
So do we think that, and actually what's kind of funny is as the X-Wings go, suddenly, Dave, those X-Wings are in the clouds.
We're flying through the clouds.
We might be on to something here that we're, you know, and again, let's take this. Okay, I as much as I said I think the snow planet was Ilum, let's take this if we Baby Yoda, okay. And so if you end up finding out that this species had a Jedi master named Yoda, and, you know, and I don't know, somehow I'm trying to figure out how you would connect all these dots, but linking it back to we're in Empire Strikes Back land. You know, it's like we're seeing Hoth, we're seeing Bespin, you know, and then into Return of the Jedi, you're seeing Tatooine, and you are seeing, you know, Endor possibly. I don't know, but anyway, it was funny because I just scrolled through it. I was like, oh well, yep, we're in the clouds. So,
which the thing that I was kind of thinking of when first of all when I saw that shot is, going through the clouds is, it reminded me of the shot in Empire when the two security exactly when they're flanking the Falcon as it's approaching the landing pad.
But here's the deal. In the first shot of the Razor Crest being flanked by X-Wings,
it's good.
The wings are down, and then when they're in the clouds, actually, then the wings start coming up into attack position, and then when they're in the clouds, the wings are in attack position. So I don't know what's going on, but do we think that Amando's being attacked or escorted? What do you think?
Okay, so when I'll put this shot with the first shot we saw together, and I was thinking maybe Mando is trying to go back to places like Yavin or Endor or even Dagobah, places where Luke was, and that may still have a military value or have a presence from the New Republic. Therefore, you know, if he's violating military airspace, the natural inclination would be for them to send ships to figure out, okay, who are you? What are you doing here? And if he's not willing to answer those questions, so to speak, they may get into a attack mode of, okay, you violated our airspace, we're going to shoot you down.
And now that I see the clouds, I'm gonna make that bold prediction, and I'm going to say that he's the one that finds Luke's lightsaber and gets it to Maz Kanata.
If he's in Dave, he's in if it's in Bespin.
So anyway, I don't know.
You could, you know, what's fun about that idea too is he could run into some Ugnaughts on Bespin.
That is
true,
true.
because of his relationship with Queel.
But maybe that's why he's going to Bespin. Maybe there was some lead that Queel was stationed there. Maybe there's a lead that he's following. You know.
Yeah. You don't know.
I don't know. So
I want to say the one thing about the X-wings though too, quickly before we move past them. There's such a different vibe with X-wing fighters in this series. You know, as kids they were like the hero ships, and they were so cool, and they were just like you wanted to be an X-wing fighter pilot and all this, and now they're kind of bureaucratic, and they're a little bit, you know, like forceful, and like not necessarily in a good way. I mean, that's been our only experience with them in the series so far, and
they're the state troopers. They're the state troopers of the galaxy.
Yeah, it's a whole different vibe now.
They've gone from being the cool, you know, out on the outlaws to now being the by the books cops pulling you over.
So next we get a quick shot of Mando on a speeder bike in a desert planet. I'm guessing it's probably Tatooine. We can't go to two. Well, it might be Navarro again, I suppose, but.
We have to spend time on this. Did you guys see Jason Ward's tweet making Star Wars? About this. Okay, so some people have apparently freeze framed this and like blown it up and done some analysis and have tried to basically analyze what's going on this speeder more so than what you might just initially assume. It looks like the Mandalorian is hauling Boba Fett's armor on the back of the speeder bike.
Huh.
And so looking at this, you have to go to Jason Ward's tweet probably to find it rather than the actual trailer.
Would you like me to share it, Aaron, so you can see it as well?
I mean, I've got the thing on full screen. I don't know. You know, of course, now if you show me, then it's going to be, oh, well, sure it is, because it's,
yeah. So, like, regardless, I thought that was a decent segue to start talking a little bit more about our mystery spur wielder and who that might have been.
Which that gets into the Aftermath series that Fredo was talking about, because, Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
Yeah. Or Fredo can speak to it a little bit too.
Well, just simply, I mean, the natural, I mean, when we started talking about it, the natural assumption was that it was Boba Fett, because he's the one character we know who's got to wear spurs. But Chuck Wendig's Aftermath novel,
I still have never heard spurs in Empire Strikes Back. But anyway, go ahead.
They're in there. They're in there. Trust me. They introduced a character by the name of Cobb Vanth, who I believe was a slave, right, Dave?
Yes.
Who somehow frees himself, recovers the armor of Boba Fett, which had been recovered after, the Sarlacc spat out what it couldn't digest, and basically wins it from other people and uses it to become the sheriff of this community of people called Freetown on Tatooine. So he kind of declares himself the law of the town, and he's walking around like a cowboy, so to speak, in this wild frontier town on Tatooine, which if you got Mando racing on a speeder bike across town, maybe he bumps into him.
This is canon at this point that this character has the armor. There is still no for sure accounting for Boba Fett being dead. So, and because of Tamora Morrison, there is speculation that Boba Fett might be returning. And so you could be in a good, bad, and ugly situation with the three of these individuals who would have a very invested attachment to this armor for different reasons. You know,
Right.
Mando because of his culture and because of what it would mean to Mandalore. And, you know, like this armor belongs with my people. Boba Fett because, you know, this was my dad's armor. This is my armor. This is my birthright at this point. And then obviously this new sheriff character who has inherited it. So you could have, you know, a three-way standoff with these characters. Dave Filoni originally tried to do with Boba Fett and Cad Bane in Clone Wars. And we might be getting set up for that. I don't want to necessarily expect that that's for sure what's going to happen, you know, but it's kind of a fun what if.
It creates an interesting dynamic because you know that Dave Filoni loves Westerns. You know that Jon Favreau loves Westerns. So creating a sort of Mexican standoff, to use the term, from the good, the bad, and the ugly here with these three characters would create a dynamic. Because what's going to be interesting is you're gonna be rooting for Mando, but Cobb Vanth, by and large, is a stand-up. You know, once he becomes the sheriff of Freetown, is a stand-up character. You're gonna want to side with him. Plus, casting Timothy Olyphant makes great sense because he's like born. The dude's born to play cowboys. And then Boba Fett on the third end of that, it'll create an interest. You know, with all his fans, it create a dynamic where all three of them could be pointing blasters at one another. And you're like, please don't shoot one another because I can't afford to have any of y'all go down. So
I just found the tweet, and okay, yeah, again, know whether it's matrixing or not, but yeah, I can see what you're talking about. So
yeah. I mean, whether it happens or not, if Timothy Olyphant is playing that character, then he's going to be wearing that armor.
Well, I tell you what, though, the Mando would probably be like, no, you shouldn't be wearing that armor. Mm-hmm. And that even Boba Fett shouldn't be wearing that armor if it's, you know, Mandalorian armor, because he's not Mandalorian. So,
what's also going to creates an interesting dynamic because Boba Fett, if he does come back, has a stake to say, I'm Mandalorian because I'm a clone of a Mandalorian.
I don't think.
Well, he might stick to it. I'm not saying.
I don't think Django was.
I don't think Django was, but I think the point is Boba believes it, or at least believes it enough to be wearing it. But the idea of that's my father's armor versus Mando or Din Djarin going, no, that's my people's legacy who rescued me, versus Cobb Vanth going, I'm actually using it for good here. You know.
Next couple shots we'll probably be able to hustle through real quick. We got Cara Dune and Chubbs. And actually I'm thinking that the first shot with all the graffiti is not Navarro, because this looks like Navarro and it looks like it's cleaned up and happy-go-lucky, and you know, everything's tiny.
They cleaned it up as best they could after the last battle.
So
they moved the rubble to the side.
And then you have like not just one, but looks like 4 TIE fighters with the folding wings. So
Outland TIE fighters is what they're called, apparently.
Outland TIE fighters?
Yep.
Okay.
I guess the idea is these are TIE fighters for remote areas that won't necessarily have support facilities to take them in and berth them.
And by the way, I want to get back to, well, no, we haven't been there yet. Sorry. We have stormtroopers running through an obvious Imperial hallway. Whether or not this is on a spaceship or something that's, you know, on a planet. Who knows? But they're running.
Here's some baseless speculation. What if it's Death Star 2?
Yeah, because the angle of it's not. I mean, it's an interesting angle that they use to film
Off
those.
kilter.
It is. It's not meant to be. Oh, just stormtroopers running. It's stormtroopers panicking as they're running.
So not to throw cold water on you, but the Entertainment Weekly photos that came out, there was a shot of the Mandalorian, Cara Dune, and Chubbs in an obvious Imperial hallway. My guess is probably a Star Destroyer. It's probably Moff Gideon's Star Destroyer. And they're just using the Batman angle. It's probably, anyway, but so next we've got speeder. We got more biker scouts on speeder bikes jumping into a canyon. I don't necessarily know if that is Tatooine. I will point out that the biker scouts still have their knee pads upside down.
I was gonna say it looks like they race or they drive better than they shoot.
Yeah. So it's cool that we got speeder bikes back. I always dug those. Mm-hmm. Then we got the Mando. We got Mando almost like trying not to drown. He's in a sewer grate with water coming up his neck. So, which means that the child is not with him. So,
Well, it makes me wonder if when he went back to Navarro, he might have left them with Cara Dune. Because there's trust there.
So really nothing we can speculate about those things, but we got Mando taken off in his jetpack. So he's obviously getting better with that. But then we're back to Graffiti Place. And some dude hanging by his ankles from a light post, and I don't know if Mando must be trying to shoot him down or something or help him. I don't know, but like I said, just tons of graffiti. That's what's really interesting to me. I don't know why, but
a lot of graffiti, not much light.
Yeah, not much light at all.
So it makes me wonder if something's going on, or if this is a bad part of whatever town they're in, or if it's just a bad town overall.
Now, this next shot, we're back on the snowy planet, and this is the one a lot of people are saying it's Ilum because it looks like it's taken straight out of Jedi Fallen Order.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. With the high canyons and whatnot, yeah.
So it's Mando going back through the Fortress of Solitude or whatever. Then what do we got falling out of the sky?
Something is burning up. It looks like the Razor Crest.
So that's disturbing. Then we get to, it's funny that Sasha Banks is in this because now we're in the squared circle with Gamorreans with their axes, and it's a Gamorrean fight. So the pig guards, from Jabba's palace. So they got nothing else to do. They might as well be wrestlers. So Mando is going into this, and he starts talking to one-eyed guy that who is, you actually see this creature species in A New Hope, right?
In the cantina?
Yeah, in the cantina. And did it sound like Jon Favreau's voice to you?
Might be. I was paying more attention to what he was saying, but you're right in the intonation. Could be, or maybe they got Taika Waititi to come back.
And then as he's talking to him, three guys with guns jump up and point their gun at Mando. That's not going to end well for them, I'm sure.
I love the little moment that happens then when he activates the little whistling birds. I'm sorry, and Baby Yoda recognizes what's about to go down, hits the button on his crib, and gets inside. Just shunk.
Yep, that's the next one here. That's that was the icing on the cake. Yeah, we get the whistling birds, and Baby Yoda knows what's going on and knows how to close his crib. So, like I said,
he knows it's going down.
Nothing really to speculate here. It's just kind of fun to see. dark for a while and guys go down from being shot by the whistling birds. And then we just get the Mandalorian now streaming October 30th, and we all have to wait. So I don't know. So let's now we've had fun time saying Bespin and Endor and Luke and all these other links to the original trilogy. Do you think that'll be a major turn off to the people who were really turned on by the Mandalorian season 1 because it was something totally different, or do you think people would embrace it if that indeed does happen? If we get a lot of, of the Skywalker saga. Well, I guess it is the Skywalker saga, but also Jedi Fallen Order, also, the Clone Wars, things like that. If you get those references in this, because he's going to be looking for Jedi, do you think people will go, ugh, or do you think they'll embrace it?
I think. Go ahead, Dave. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that they've built up a lot of capital. And like that's the thing that they did in season 1 that was so great, because they just like, we're going to build this the right way. We're going to do this. It's going to be self-contained story. It's going to be a small story. We're going to do right by these characters. You're going to care about these characters, and we're going to tell a self-contained story. So by the end of season 1, you'll feel satisfied with what you got. But you'll also be attached to the people that are still standing at the end of the thing. And so going into season 2, they have all this goodwill built up. I think people are going to be a lot more willing to go along with whatever direction they ultimately want to go. And so whether that is, more cameos, or whether it's fewer cameos.
You just backed me up for like basically, what I thought it was kind of the opposite of what they did with The Force Awakens. It's like, we're going to give you all these things to show you Star Wars is back, and then we're going to deviate off into other things, and you'll come with us on this trip. I both are excellent, motivating factors, so yeah.
I think I was going to say regarding season 1, it had to start in a new place because it's a time period we haven't seen before. Mandalorian's Din Djarin's a character we hadn't met before, so yeah, I kind of had to get acclimatized to how things were for him. And as we went along, we kind of uncovered parts of what is his reality is. But now, because he's got Baby Yoda, because he's got his mandate to go seek out the Jedi, we should be seeing those elements reintroduced or becoming more prevalent in season 2. There's no way you can avoid him. If his job is reconnect Baby Yoda with either his species or with the Jedi, well, that means you're going to have to find Jedi, and that involves bringing in everything else that we've kind of seen. Doesn't mean you get it all at once, but it means he has to now become part of the larger story that we know.
So real quick, the obvious thing that we did not see in this trailer, what's the thing that sticks out like a sore thumb? Who did we not see?
Moff Gideon.
Moff Gideon and the Darksaber.
Yeah.
Talk about, it's like, giving you a, big old, hint at the end of the last season, and then we're not going to show you any of that. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. The rumors that we have heard, and still we can't confirm, Ahsoka. We haven't seen Ahsoka. Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan. We can't confirm that one. Like you said, Tamara Morrison, we didn't see any of that. So those things are still, I think there's this, I think those that we're just listing off there, those are the Baby Yodas of this season. All these rumors that people are, hearing this, that, or the other, I don't think they're going to show any of that footage until the episode hits now. I think this trailer is enough for people to get through the rest of September and into October, and they can wait until episode 4 or whatever to show, Bo-Katan, or, the last episode to show Ahsoka. I don't think Ahsoka is going to come into it until the finale.
Put it this way: we were saying last week that we didn't need a trailer. the fact that we got one is appreciated because hey, you get to see and we get to speculate, and it's fun to see kind of how some of the places they're going to go and some of the adventures they're going to be in. But that still doesn't mean that we're still not going to watch. We're already in, and the idea that we need to see Bo-Katan or Sabine or Ahsoka in order to kind of buy in. No, people who know those characters, they were already they paid their ticket, way back when, and they're along for the ride now. So this is more about making sure to remind everybody, hey, it's coming back. If you thought, if you hadn't thought about us, here we go again. So it's good. It makes everybody happy. And right quick before I go away, I was going to mention they did confirm all the directors for the episodes. So Dave Filoni's back, Bryce Dallas Howard's back, Rick Famuyiwa's back, Jon Favreau's going to direct an episode, Carl Weathers is going to direct an episode, and then Peyton Reed and Robert Rodriguez, who we knew were directing there, as well. So those are your directors for the season.
I wanted to springboard a little bit off of something, Aaron, that you said, which was just that, is this going to be a slow burn? Like with some of those themes. It's like they leave this major cliffhanger at the end of season 1. Well, they don't have to resolve it right away. That may be a 6-episode arc. It may be the whole season before we get any sort of resolution to that. But I can't help but think with the name of the series is The Mandalorian. And the biggest mystery that we haven't had any sort of hint at resolution to yet is what happened to frickin' Mandalore. What happened to the Mandalorians? Because they're scattered to the winds. They're all in hiding. They're afraid to come out because they think they're going to get wiped out. How did the Darksaber fall out of their possession? Essentially, how did they go from this proud, warrior, proud group of warriors to hide in the shadows?
Well, and the Mandalorians have always been linked to the Jedi for better or for worse. I mean, they're kind of like the yin and the yang, right? So I think they'll be able to tell that. I think they could tell that story while also trying to find the Jedi, to take Baby Yoda to.
I think it's an essential piece of who he is, though, right? Because that's the name of the show. That's who his character. We still refer to him as Mando. The Chubbs calls him Mando. It's like this is who he is. So what does it mean to be Mandalorian? Like what does that even mean in this time frame? We don't really even know that still. And so I want to see more of that unfold. These new rumored characters make a lot of sense for that, right? Like Sabine Wren would make total sense. Ahsoka, to a lesser degree, would make some sense.
Bo-Katan,
Bo-Katan, who we know is going to show up. So I have a lot of excitement about that. I have faith that we'll get there. It's interesting that they stayed away from it completely in the trailer.
Now, what about the fear? Is there a fear that is created by the rumor that is Pedro Pascal quit halfway through the season 2? Actually, was told to take a hike because what I was reading today was that he wanted more screen time without the helmet on, and went and complained to Disney or Lucasfilm execs, and they said, you know what? No, go take a hike. We don't need you. And then you link that to, what Jon Favreau has said about being able to branch off onto other stories in the second half of this season. Do you think there's any validity to this? Do you think if Pedro Pascal was kicked off of the set or quit, whichever side you want to, do you think that would have only hit the ears of one insider journalist, or would it have been the talk of all the time?
No way. I mean, put it this way. If for some reason, because look, when you are an actor in a recurrency. Think of stuff like whether it's Friends or Seinfeld or Game of Thrones. Whenever your show hits the zeitgeist, the cultural zeitgeist, where you don't even have to be a fan of that property to be aware of it. The fact that the negotiations for money and screen time become headline news around the world. So if for some reason Pedro Pascal had marched into Lucasfilm's offices and told them, I want more of this, and Lucasfilm said, take a hike, that would have led an Entertainment Tonight. That would have been on CNN. That would not, because he has people, he has agents, he has publishers, he has some team that represent him, and they would have made sure, hey, just FYI, Lucasfilm's trying to kill the golden goose here, and the fans would have been in an uproar. So I don't necessarily think the idea that he was ever at risk of being fired. Now, could there have been some internal dynamics between him, the producers, whatever, over certain storylines, whatever? Yeah, that could happen. Or maybe somebody didn't get along. I mean, shoot, actors don't get along. This is bigger though.
It is interesting though that you have, this character who's always under a helmet. All you need is a good voice actor. That if you really, that's all you need, because this isn't like Plan 9 from Outer Space, where I think Bela Lugosi died halfway through, and so they recast and they just had the guy wear a cape and put the cape over his face for the rest of the movie, so you couldn't, I mean, here you actually have his face concealed the entire time. It would have been like if David Prowse would have said, I'm out, so fine, we'll put somebody else in the Vader costume and we'll dub the voice.
True. I mean, but again, we go back to the idea of, if they make those movies today, would they have been able to withstand the pressure from the internet?
Well, but yeah, I think the bigger thing, like you said, though, is if that would have happened, it would have reached so many other news outlets. And Dave, you're more into the journalism realm of things. So are we off base on that? Would it have hit more ears than?
You're exactly right. It would have filtered out upward and outward to bigger outlets. And then the other thing too, I want to state, is that stellar reputation for getting along with other people on set and for being the person who treats others with respect and does it the right way. And so I want to make sure that we convey that. I haven't heard anything differently. If you guys ever do hear anything differently, then
this almost sounds like somebody at Lucasfilm saying, let's see if we can find out who the leak is, and let's drop this story that this is what Pedro did, and then it gets to this reporter's ear, so now they can say, okay, it was Fredo who told, because they go to dinner all the time. I mean, that's what it sounds like. It sounds like like Brittany and I have always joked about, it's like sometime we're going to change our Facebook statuses at the same time to our relationship status to it's complicated.
And freak everybody out.
And just watch the social media, our friends just crumble as to what's going on.
Don't do that.
But it seems like that's what they did here, because it comes to one person, and it's just like, I'm not seeing the reports anywhere else.
There's a rule in journalism where you get double sourcing. And I think a lot of people have heard of that. Anybody who kind of follows journalism has heard of this. So you want to get two people to corroborate a story before you're willing to run with it. Now, there are exceptions to that rule. If you hear it straight from the horse's mouth, it's like, like you want to know if Drew Brees got a new contract, with the Saints. If Drew Brees tells you that he got a new contract with the Saints, you could probably run with that. You probably feel pretty good about that at that point. You don't necessarily have to get that corroborated. But yeah, I mean, like, this is the standard operating procedure. You have to get done. So this is like some internet report. Again, I don't want to minimize anybody, but it's like, I have an in at Lucasfilm. Well, congratulations. A lot of people have ins at Lucasfilm, and they hear a lot of things, and they're not all going to be true.
And we should be fair. I mean, shooting on sets for 14, 16 hours can be tiring. Even the nicest of people, fray after take number 27 where you have to deliver the same line because stuff doesn't come off right. That's normal operating procedure in sets. But at the same time, the idea that maybe they're going to use the second half of the season to try to expand their version of the Star Wars universe further, it's not a bad idea. If you want to see if people want to see more of Cara Dune, give her an episode and see if people want to follow the story. If not, okay, fine, we gave it a try. You're not committing to anything beyond one episode where maybe she's minding Baby Yoda, trying to figure out if Mando got captured or whatever, that kind of thing.
Well, and I'm sorry, but I not really don't mean to apologize, but I think anything Dave Filoni does is to continue the stories that he was telling in the Clone Wars. Mm-hmm. And it's like that's what he used Rebels to do. And then he got his second season of Clone Wars, and Mando is turning into that a little bit. I'm not against it, but it's just we should not be surprised if if that's what we're getting here. It's just a continuation. I get another chance to continue this story in a different venue. Well,
if you look at Rebels as a model of that, right? Because Rebels was in a lot of ways a continuation of Clone Wars. He waited until maybe season 2 to try to make more of those connections, bring back Ahsoka, bring back Rex, these kinds of things. Waited until these characters, that new characters he was trying to establish, had a chance to get their feet wet.
Yep.
And so, if you're following a script, we're into season 2 now, so now would be the time that he would feel more comfortable doing that.
I mean, could you imagine if the episode that Dave Filoni is directing is where were Ahsoka and Sabine for the last 5 years? Would anybody complain?
I wouldn't complain.
No. Now, some people who had never seen Rebels might complain. They're like, what the heck, why are we following these characters? But I think the show's built up enough goodwill, like you were saying, Dave, to be able to earn those kind of, okay, let me throw this curveball at you.
Well, and this could be for another show, and I don't know who's invading my house. My dogs are going nuts in the background. But anyway, we haven't talked about it. It's not a long line to draw to get Thrawn into this series.
We still have that dangling unresolved storyline of Thrawn and Ezra.
I mean, they could show up in this. It may be, maybe, I don't know. Who knows?
I have to tell you about that too. Like, it's interesting to me. They're holding that story back. Mm-hmm. I don't know when they're going to feel comfortable telling that story, but they've been holding it back because all of the Timothy Zahn novels dealing with Thrawn have been set in the past.
Right.
They've all been pre that moment with Ezra and Thrawn and the space whales. Everything before that point, they're going into massive detail on. Because they know that people are interested in Thrawn. They want to read Thrawn stories. So they're going all in on that. But nothing beyond that point, they've come close to even touching on yet. So they're holding it back for a reason. And I guess we just have to wait on eggshells to see what it's going to be.
I was just going to say, could you imagine if the last shot of season 2, last shot of season 1 was the Darksaber with Moff Gideon. Can you imagine the last shot of season 2 is Moff Gideon opening a door and there stands Thrawn? Cut to black. See you in a year.
That'd be pretty cool. So.
Yeah. Everybody, there's 1,000 Star Wars fans who just scream, enjoy the idea. They squeal.
So I we could keep speculating all night long, but real quick, just around the horn, just real quick, you think we'll get another trailer between now and October 30th? I say yes, we're going to get another one.
I think so. I think we'll get one, probably something like something premiere on a Monday Night Football game, that kind of thing. At least a TV spot.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I
just don't think they can help themselves. I mean,
there's still a lot of time left. I mean, you got a whole month.
the perfect thing would be just this tease. That's it. And then, but they released it, in barely mid-September. So it's only going to give, if it was, again, pre-internet, when we see the Return of the Jedi trailer, and then it's like, oh yeah, that'll keep you going for 6 months, but now it's like, this will only last people for a couple weeks before they're going to want their fix. So maybe there is still a possibility we'll see Ahsoka. But anyway, with that, I guess we've got Raiders Monday Night Football.
That's right.
In Las Vegas. I think we're going to take the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't like making any sort of guesses because it's me and the Saints. But
no, I think it's going to be an interesting game. The Raiders were good, if not spectacular, against the Panthers. They did all right, but neither team looked. They look like week 1 team games. So we'll see. But I'm confident. I'm confident our defense can go in there and travel and win.
Completely off topic. I looked up the name of the planet that I was referencing earlier, the sea planet, Pamarth. It was an outer rim planet.
They're all outer rim planets, and they can't name things really well.
Marthans were known for being excellent pilots, as well as their courage and gusto.
What? Who were?
Pamarthans.
Oh, I thought you said Marthans.
No.
Like, did the person have a lisp that was writing that or something?
No, they're all the parents of Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent's moms. Martha's.
You wouldn't bother to carve arg. Sorry. All right. Well, with that, we will end this episode of the Who Dat Jedi podcast. Remember, you can find us on Podbean, on Google Podcasts, on Apple Podcasts, and find us on Twitter and Facebook, Who Dat Jedi podcast, or each one of us individually. Like I said, we'll always talk Star Wars with you. But until then, hope you have a great week. Stay healthy, and go Saints. We'll say Who Dat.
Who Dat.
And we'll see you next week.
McConkey.